Man, what's up, everybody? It's your boy BQ here with the Impact Lounge Impact Wrestling Review. So I have to apologize. There's a few of you that were waiting in the chat, and I just started the stream, and I realized it gave me an error message that I was out of space on StreamYard. So I had to go in. I had to end the stream immediately. I had to go in. I had to delete some files. So my bad on that. But we're going to talk a little bit Impact this week. Doing it a little later than I wanted to. I was out of town Saturday for the USC game. And then it was my birthday yesterday. So I was really, really behind. I just watched Impact today. Typically, I try to watch it on Saturday or Sunday. But I was about a day behind on this. And with the holiday, I got the day off. So I was able to sit and check out this episode. If you're just joining in the chat here, I apologize for ending the last stream so quickly. I didn't know I was out of streaming space on StreamYard, and I had to step in and delete some files. So my bad. Thank you, Michael Spikes, for the happy birthday wish. Appreciate it very much. And I mentioned this last week as well, so let me throw it out there again. For Bound for Glory, I will preview the show, but typically on the pay-per-views, on the big pay-per-views, I will watch and go live right after the show. I will be out of town because I'm getting married that weekend. So probably a day or so later, I will get to Bound for Glory. I'm going to watch it as it airs. I just can't. I can't podcast because I won't be home. All right. So we're going to get into this episode here. There's not a lot of news that tickles my fancy at the moment. So there's not really anything I want to get too deep into. So we're going to kind of jump right into the episode. This episode here was not one of their better ones. They're, I didn't think I saw a lot of hate online, not hate, but I saw the, the Twitterverse, the Impact Twitterverse. I got my daughter talking in the background here. She has not come downstairs the entire day, except for when I start podcasting. So, with that being said, I saw a lot of people chatting on Twitter that they didn't really care for the episode, and I tend to agree with them. It was not my favorite episode in the world. There were certain segments that people liked and some that people hated, and we'll get into that a little bit. So this kicks off with Killer Kelly and Tasha Steelz. So I know this is like super unprofessional for me to talk to my family while I'm streaming here, but I need to talk to my daughter. Hey, babe, I'm recording. Okay. Thank you, baby. We had Killer Kelly and Tasha Steelz. That was the opening match here, and I've been talking about this with the Knockouts Tag Team Championships for a little bit. Okay, MK Ultra, I've said, is the best thing to happen to the Knockouts Tag Team division in a really, really long time. But at whatever Impact Plus show it was a month or so ago. I don't even remember what show it was, Emergence or something like that. They felt the need to have MK Ultra defend the titles in a 4-way against the Death Dolls, Shah Taraj, and I cannot remember the other team for the life of me. Maybe someone will say something in the comments here, and that I don't remember who the team was. But I was saying at the time, I said they're unnecessarily defending these titles against the entire fucking Knockouts division at an Impact Plus show, not a pay-per-view, but at Impact Plus show. Their least viewed event that they do. All right, if we're talking about episodes of Impact versus pay-per-views versus Impact Plus, I might be wrong on that. They might do more than pay-per-views, but they're not important shows. Is what I'm saying. There's a lot of throwaway matches on them. They had MK Ultra defend against. Okay, thanks, Michael Spikes. He said Jody Threat and Colin King. That's correct. That's right. It was supposed to be the Coven, but they took out Taylor Wilde in one of the worst storylines they've been doing in a little while here. But defended the title against everybody. And then after the match, I said, who the fuck are they supposed to feud with now? Instead of just wrestling the damn Death Dolls, and then in the next month, put the titles on the line against the Coven, and then the next month, you can do the Shah Taraj. Like, drag it out a little fucking bit, all right? That way MK Ultra stays hot, and then you get a storyline of who the hell can beat them, right? And then you can throw a damn tag team together. But instead, how this came off was hey, we're panicking. We need a team. Let's throw two knockouts together who aren't doing anything. And that's exactly how they put Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo together. They had this match, Killer Kelly versus Tasha. Tasha wins the match off a botch at the end. If you guys didn't pick up on this at the end, she was going for her crucifix bomb. It turned into a Samoan drop. But she still, Killer Kelly still sold it, and she got rolled up. Deonna Purrazzo came out. She pulled the referee out. Referee distraction. That's how this whole thing went down. It was a decent match, I guess, because I like both the girls. I was into it, but because Tasha Steelz cheats to win, they get a Bound for Glory tag team title shot. So, you know, where's the logic there, right? They were number one. They're a tag team. So they get, you're going to get a title shot because of that. But then, number two, I just don't understand the logic behind. I don't know why I'm counting number one and number two because they're not really related. But I don't understand the logic of just having a tag team cheat to win a match, and then they are awarded with a match of Bound for Glory. So I don't know that whole thing. I didn't really care for the way it ended. The match was both girls were wearing the same exact fucking color, green. If you would have had Alicia Edwards out there, she would have been wearing the same shit too. So they look like they were on the same team. So hopefully that's not what they're freaking wearing at Bound for Glory, because they just look like, they don't look like opponents. Um Visual little silver. I want the hard cam long term. They don't need to go in the arena like that. Hopefully this Thursday they're in a decent arena with the return of the hard cam facing the entrance. So, I mean, away from the entrance. I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, but this crowd was for the most part like pretty dead. I think I don't recall a time they've ever been to Memphis before. Maybe this is like a new thing for them, and you would think, being that it's a new city, new state to travel to, or even if it's not new, it's definitely not. It's definitely rare because I don't remember them going there. I feel like they did do Tennessee a couple years ago, actually. But with that being said, you would just think this crowd is just coming alive, and they just were not for this episode. I don't know if it was the first week in Memphis or not. I think last week might have been the first week. I don't really know. I don't care. I know a lot of people keep track of where they're at. I personally don't. I usually don't really care. But for the most part, they were dead for this episode. We got one of the episodes where the camera is facing the entrance, so you see 15 people on screen. You see the Impact screensaver. You know, um, not it's not a people don't care for it. The 99, if not 100% of the Impact fans do not like this setup. So yeah, glad they tried a new city, but it didn't work out. Crowd didn't come across well, and maybe it was editing. Honestly, I was watching some Impact on Pop stuff the other day, and remember we used to always say how dead the Impact Zone in Orlando was. They're like double the volume of how it comes across on TV these days. You know, so I don't know. Maybe Orlando actually had more fire than we gave them credit for. Need to sign more women. Hopefully, a 90-day can be clauses up. WWE. I think there's going to be, a little. It is getting, everything is getting a little boring. Um, I do think they're going to make plays like Aaliyah and Dana Brooke and Tennille Dashwood and all that, because Impact still is the place to be for women's wrestling. You can't really deny that for the most part. Let's move along though. But yeah, as I said, Tasha Steelz cheats Deonna. Deonna's a heel again, and they get a tag team title shot for that reason. But MK Ultra cannot be any more ice cold right now than they are, and it was because of exactly the picture I just painted for you guys. Defend the titles against half the roster at the same time, run out of opponents, and now they're kind of forgotten about. Uh, Jason Hotch after this walks into, I don't know if it's like a female locker room or just a lounge. I don't know exactly what it was, but he just opens the door. The camera happens to be right there recording, and he's trying to recruit to that's myself saying that. Trying to recruit Savannah Evans to be his tag team partner. Because she just beat Havoc on BTI. BTI has become the wasteland of freaking Impact. I mean, they put matches on there that they clearly don't want people to watch that show. But anyway, she beat Jessica, and Jason Hodge was trying to not Jason Hodge. I'm sorry, John Schuyler. Excuse me. He was trying to recruit her, and Giselle Shaw said, "You can take Jay Vidal because he cost her the match last week, I believe it was against Trinity, her 90th match against Trinity, where she's lost all of them. So I don't really know why it's Jay's fault. She was likely going to lose anyway, but so Jay has to wrestle in the fans' revenge match later in the night. Then we get Gia and Gresham backstage. I kind of like what they're doing with Jonathan Gresham here. They are the story they were telling when he was going to wrestle Mike Bailey in the match was, having a good match, and the announce team kept talking about Jonathan Gresham and how he wrestles under pure rules and all these things. Right now, Jonathan Gresham, he's turning heel and he's talking about the incompetence of the referees and for someone who values pure wrestling, and he's basically saying that the referees aren't capable of calling these kind of matches. Like, I kind of like where it's going, but who's the opponent going to be? What's the story going to be? I don't know where they're going to go with it quite yet, but I'm kind of intrigued, and I think Gresham has some good charisma when he's being a heel. Someone who has no charisma is Speedball Mike Bailey, who comes into the screen, and this was actually probably his best acting work he's done in Impact. But he's coming, he's pissed, and he's pissed like a week later. Pissed. This match was last week, and this dude is still hot with steam coming out of his ears. And talking about, well, you pulled the tights. They're not promoting Speedball Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay or anything like that. They're talking about Jonathan Gresham cheating to beat him. I hope they don't wrestle again. I've seen this match for the last time. I don't want to see it again. I did ask this a couple weeks ago. No one asked me. Some of you out there have met Mike Bailey. I need to know if he talks like this in real life. He's either a really bad actor or he's a really good actor in portraying his real life persona. It's one of the two, but just the way he speaks is just, if it's an accent or something, I kind of get it, but I just honest to God, just need to know. So yeah. So lots of backstage segments here. So it's Gia, talking to him, as I said. Tommy Dreamer is next in the ring, and he calls out Crazy Steve. Crazy Steve comes out almost immediately. So, okay, Dobby the Brain says that's just how he speaks. He's French Canadian. Okay. That actually gives me a little more insight into it. So this is possibly not his first language. Okay, cool. English is his second language. He's a French Canadian. Okay. So he's actually just a very good actor on how he really talks in real life. But Tommy Dreamer calls out Crazy Steve. He comes out almost immediately. So they're clearly hanging out in Gorilla together, even though Steve had no clue he was going to get called out. And just so happened to have a fork on him. So he comes out, and Tommy Dreamer, actually, I'm going to give him some props here. He told a pretty good story here about Crazy Steve. The majority of us know he's blind. If you've met Crazy Steve, he's super cool. I mentioned this on the show before. He's really, really cool. He sees, like, it's weird. Like, he doesn't, but he does. It's crazy. I got an autograph from him, and then he was like, I got these wrestle buddies too. And I said, well, I'm kind of out of. It was like towards the end of the night. I'm like, I don't have a lot of cash left on me. So I was like, I'll come back if I've got $40 left. So yeah, I come back and I did have 40. And I came up, and like, he knew it was me, like, from earlier, you know what I mean? So it's really odd. Like, he can't see, but he knows. And I even asked him, and he goes, oh no, I can't see for shit. So Tommy Dreamer tells a really good story about that, about him taking him out driving, about him crashing with him when he was first part of TNA, and was probably making $200 for a taping, and couldn't afford a hotel room. Um, what else did he say in this? Oh yeah, he pointed out that he was. If you guys remember, he was Crazy Steve was his mystery tag team partner years ago on one of the empty arena shows during the pandemic. So he tells a pretty good story here, and Steve is doing some good acting. And then they go to hug, and Steve, who again had no clue he was going to get called out, has a fork on him and stabs him. Now clearly he's wearing a James Harden fat suit. I'm talking about Tommy Dreamer, and this fork is sticking out of his back. There's no medical professionals down there. There's no, the phony doctor is not out there. He's just some referees and security. But Tommy Dreamer actually sold this really good because he is a freaking professional. He's not what he does does not typically come off very fake, even though this kind of did. The people didn't really care. They didn't really know what was going on though. So I don't really blame them for that. A fork is a pretty small instrument of torture, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to see exactly what it is. A lot of people didn't like this on Twitter. I think even when I logged in here, a few people jumped in immediately and said I didn't care for that segment. I didn't think it was as bad as probably people expected. I think it was, and I don't think it was as bad as most people thought. Do I think it was like particularly good? Would I do? Um, would I want to see something like that again? No, but I didn't hate it. I wasn't as turned off by it just because I'm invested in Crazy Steve. I'm very very invested in him. Now, here's something I don't understand because he's going to wrestle Tommy Dreamer at the Bound for Glory Fallout for the coveted, prestigious digital media championship. And this is what I don't understand. Like this time around, they're not cashing in. They're not doing the Money in the Bank cash ins. They're just challenging for the fucking belt. Like it's not that hard to challenge for a title in Impact. Like you, Tasha Steelz and Deonna Purrazzo got a title shot. Freaking Sammy Callahan and Rich Swann, we'll talk about them later. They just walked in, waltzed in, and got a title shot. Like, why would you put your career on the line if you can't even fucking cash in? If you can't just hit the dude with the briefcase, win the title, and bounce? I think we're really getting away from what kind of makes that fun. You know, I mean, I wouldn't put my career on the line to announce that I'm challenging for your championship weeks in advance so that they can prepare for you. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, I didn't hate this the way that most people did. But this next match, I hated more than people did. And that was the 10-person mixed tag match or intergender, I guess it was, of Eric Young, Dango, Jake Something, Jordan Grace, and Champagne Singh on one side, Bully Ray, Shira, Jody Threat, Kylan King, Brian Myers, who is also wearing green, just like Tasha Steelz and Killer Kelly in the opening match. That's the new red is green now, apparently. And this is a 5-on-5 match where the winners are going to face off in a 5-way. And the winner of that is going to get the coveted number 20 that no one's ever fucking won from or even come close. I say that I think Moose might have been 20, as a matter of fact. I know one year it was Shira. He lasted about 5 seconds in the match. Then it was Hernandaddy. He lasted about 10 seconds in the match because he self-eliminated to chase the wad of 20s. But I think Moose was 20. So someone here let me know if they have any idea. But anyway, the person who gets pinned, and there's a couple jobbers on each team, so it's going to tell you who, is going to be number 1. And they're acting like number 1 is such a fucking disadvantage. The first 2 winners of this damn match came in at number 1. So 2 of the 3 winners of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet have come in at number 1. So I can't buy that story that it's such a disadvantage. Like shit, let me come in at number 1. There's a 66.6 repeating chance of me winning the damn match. But a few people got entrances here. I would just give everyone their damn entrance, make them quick instead of the fucking highlights. that they show in the beginning of the show. It took 3 minutes for the show to start for Killer Kelly and Tasha Steelz. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because we got 2 minutes of highlights, and then we got We Own the Night. And I've got to compare the way Impact starts a show to the way NWA starts a show. I know many of you probably don't watch NWA, but what they do is they do a video package, but they're not showing you slow-mo highlights from the previous week. They it's something like special to the show every week. So let's just say that the main event is the tag team titles. Okay, the guy who's their play-by-play announcer, he's doing this dialogue, and it's showing some highlights and things of that nature. But he's doing this dialogue um, that is telling the story about the main event and why it's happening and why you should even give a shit. Okay, and it does take a couple minutes, but it's intriguing. Like you're listening to it, and he's kind of telling you a story. He'll start off with tag team wrestling goes back generations of this and this and this. Here in the NWA, our tag team champions. I mean, it's pretty. I don't know. I like it personally. And then through the episode, there's just like little bits and pieces that are just kind of building up to that main event. So my point is, they take the beginning of the show to tell you why you should watch the episode, where Impact is telling you why you should have watched last week's episode. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I just have the need to point that out because of those are those little nuances that I obsess over. But anyway, this match here, I don't know what idiot I put on Twitter. Whoever put this match together should be like sentenced to death. So, and I mentioned it last week too. Okay, so on one side you've got 4 guys and 1 girl. The other side you have 3 guys and 2 girls. And whoever, I'm gonna assume Scott Demore, whoever fucking put this together, in their head is saying, well, Jordan Grace, because she wrestles intergender sometimes, is almost like having a dude on your team. So you got to have 2 women on the other side to counteract that. Like that's what the thinking is. Jordan Grace is like 2 normal knockouts, okay? But in that case, Jordan should be the one with another fucking girl on her team, because now you've got one side of 5 people, like 4 guys, and then I'm not calling Jordan Grace a male. That's not what I'm saying. But you got 4 dudes, and then Jordan Grace who can wrestle the dudes. Just like she's had straight up intergen. It's like saying 4 guys and Tessa Blanchard, okay? And then on the other side, 3 guys and 2 chicks. Like that team is at a disadvantage. I understand Kylan King is 6'1" and this, but Jody Thread is not. That team is at a disadvantage before the match even fucking starts. But for me, there was just not enough like good action in this. I didn't enjoy it at all. I know some people were like, "Oh, this is better than I expected." Like it wasn't to me, and maybe I just went in kind of disgusted by the teams and how they put it together. Jake something wins the match, and people were thinking he's going to be the number 20, and I can see where that is because the last few years, whenever they have these matches, it's always like crystal clear who's going to be 1 and 20. There's never um, there's never a lot that's up for debate. Like they pretty much tell the fucking story weeks in advance. But I really think Jordan is actually going to win this thing. I think she's going to be the first. I think it's time for a knockout to win this thing. And I know it's a weird match. It's intergender. Half the people like intergender, half don't. But I think it's that time for a knockout to win. I don't see anyone in this match aside from Jake something or Bully Ray that is really a competent competitor. Dango and Shira and Champagne Singh and whoever they're going to add to it. Like there's only a few competent people here. Like it's either going to be Jake or Jordan Grace. I'm fairly certain it's going to be one of the two. But I think it's going to be Jordan, and I actually think she's going to challenge for the Impact World Title. I know that takes us back to the Tessa Blanchard days, but she left the company. They obviously made her some kind of deal to return and to stay. And I think the Call Your Shot Gauntlet is going to play a big role in that. So that is my, I could be in left field, but I do think she's going to win, and I think she's going to challenge the Impact champion. That's my prediction on that. But yes, Jake something gets the win. Um, and yeah, I agree. Pull this one up. Grace looks better since she finished competing. Her body fat was so low, the skin on her face was stretched back like a mask. Her teeth were popping out of her mouth. She does look much better, much better. She looks like a real star now. And then we got more highlights, and it is of Mickey James and Trinity. And the highlights start off with Mickey James talking like a normal fucking person. And because I brought this up last couple weeks, and then it has her clips of speaking recently, and I don't know why she's like, and we're gonna wrestle Bound for Glory for the first time ever. Like I thought I was hearing things, but because they put the two voice clips like pretty much side by side, I realized like she's talking like that on purpose, and I don't know why she's doing a fake Southern accent because she doesn't typically sound like that. The very beginning of that segment, when she had her relinquishing her title, was her talking normal, and then she gets a Trinity. You been my girl, and I stood next to you, but never across the ring from you. Shut up. Man, I can't read my writing here. We got Gia backstage again with somebody here. I can't even read this word. That shows about how much I cared about whatever segment they did here. I think I wrote a T and an R. I don't know what the hell it was. Who cares? Who cares? After this, we get the fans' revenge match. So this is Ace and Bay, and they are taking on Jay Vidal and John Schuyler. I wanted to hate this, but it was actually kind of entertaining. It was kind of funny. I thought it did a good job getting Schuyler over a little bit as a heel because Schuyler comes out every week and he has these wrestling 101 insults, and 9 times out of 9 they get over like a fart in church. Like he's not really pissing people off. Like he tries to, and I do commend him for it. I think he's got some talent with that, but right now it's not like connecting. And I think as the Impact audience doesn't care about them, I thought this does. I thought this did a really good job of just getting him. I don't know if over is the term, but I think people will care about the good hands a little bit more now. You know what I mean? Um, but he did. He really took a beating from these fans, and this was the fakest thing in the world. I mean, like clearly they talked with the fans beforehand and said, "Hey, this is how we're gonna, how we're gonna do it." There's all these spots involving the fans. It wasn't like a free for all where the fans were just, "Hey, when you see their back, hit them." If I were there, I would have hit the ABC because I hate the Bullet Club. Like I would have been the one not hitting Skylar and Vidal. I would be like, no, you guys, you're good, you're good. I'll be patting him on the back, like you got this, and I'll be whipping the shit out of Ace and Bay, man. Um, I like them in Impact. As I've said many times, I hate the Bullet Club in pretty much every, except for Bullet Club Gold and AEW. I like them, but every other like iteration of the Bullet Club everywhere is just not my favorite. Um, so yeah, Skylar took a real beating. At one point, Jay Vidal took a shot to the face by one of the fans. So I thought that was interesting. I like Jay Vidal. I think he really plays his. I mean, he's being himself, you know what I mean? But he plays that character and that role like really well. So it's good to see him get some matches every once in a while because recently Zicky Dice left the company, right? And he immediately went back to NWA, which he left NWA looking for a bigger company, and then he ended up returning back to NWA. But they've got him there, and he's wrestling, number one contender match for the TV title, and really doing something. He's a former television champion in NWA. He comes to Impact, and I mean, the dude wrestled what fucking 5 matches total in a year or two. I mean, because he was part of the um, the learning tree with Brian Myers initially. So he was with the company a couple years. It doesn't feel like that, but it was definitely 2 3 years. I feel like it was during the pandemic, so maybe it's about 3 years. This dude didn't wrestle at all, So why stick around? So with Jay Vidal, like he's really good in his role. So I mean, throw him some bones so he can get in um, some matches every once in a while. Say he's a good talent, unlike Sonny Kiss. um, I was familiar with Sonny Kiss before AEW. I remember watching him one time. I was like, wow, that's hell of a character. Um, but yeah, but obviously the ABC wins this match, and then they stand in the ring with the fans after this. Um, then we got so Moose took on Bhupinder, Gujar, whatever we want to call him, Gujar, and he's pretty much jobber to the stars at this point. Bhupinder. I was talking to my guy Lewis today about him because I guess he had a really good, I guess it was BCW or something. He had a really good match with Sheldon Jean a couple days ago, and I said, he's a talent, but the problem was Impact tried to do the impossible and make an Indian babyface, which no one's ever done before. And I don't count Great Khali because he was later in his career and he was just dancing, but no one's been able to create an Indian babyface before. And instead of joining him up with the Desi Hit Squad like he was supposed to initially, or even not even so much a Desi Hit Squad because I think Rohit kind of took off when he came in, but he didn't. They didn't put him with Shira and Singh. They had him feuding with him immediately, and I feel like there was a story that could have been told if he was just part of them for a while and then broke off organically. But instead, they try to push him as a star, and it didn't work. He can't really cut a promo. They did the the fucking diary episode on him. They tried, you know what I mean? But I think they've come to the point that like, yeah, we fucked up. And just because they try to push a story first instead of letting something happen organically with him. I thought there was a chance for him one time to win the digital media championship. I think it was against Cardona. But that was his last big match where you actually thought he was going to win. And then, or it might have been Brian Myers actually. But, after that, he's just pretty much been a jobber. And this was fairly quick. It was quick and painless. Moose beats him. After this match, Macklin comes out and he's saying that I was the one who won the briefcase. I did the work. He wants the briefcase. And then PCO's music fucking hits for whatever fucking reason. I I always get very annoyed with it's PCO in the impact zone. Well, yeah, he works there. He should be there. It's not like he's making his debut. But PCO comes out after Macklin has talked about Bully Ray going soft because Moose and Brian Myers like, where's Bully Ray? There's two of us, one of you. Like, where's Bully? So Bully's not gonna be here. He's gone soft. They're clearly building something towards something with them, which I think was supposed to be. Because remember, I always talk about Impact stays the course, right? Before the injuries, Macklin and Bully were supposed to be a team. I think they are trying to revisit whatever story they were going with there. It's just taken us a little bit longer to get there. But yeah, PCO comes down for whatever reason. He takes out all three guys. There's a clip of fans fake cheering during this. And the reason I say fake cheering is like clearly something happened in the ring. There was some kind of botch or something, and it just shows random like fans screaming into the camera, looking at dead on into the camera. Like it was clearly from a cutscene coming back from a commercial or something. And then Macklin is going back to the back, and then he gets speared by Rhino. So Rhino's not someone I care about, but I feel bad for Macklin because he's taken about 3 really, really rough spears over the last few weeks, and not in the like he took one in the ring, but then he's been taking them like backstage slamming into things and all that. So yeah, people are sometimes yeah, Jay Vidal X Division. Yeah, I like to see more of that. Yeah, I heard about NWA doing the territory with Exodus Wrestling. I'm interested. I've been watching NWA again 'cause the minute they got Velvet Sky off commentary. I was like, okay, I'm in. Um, yeah, Impact didn't offer PCO enough money to stay. So I guess with Sammy Callahan, that came out as well. I think he did an interview with Fightful and basically said he was asking for more money, and Impact didn't want to acquiesce to that. So I was talking last week that just from the little I know, talking to wrestlers and things like that, the minute negotiations come up, and that's why we see these like really abrupt, exits where people are leaving. Sometimes there are people we don't care about. Sometimes it's people we do care about. Um, yeah, Velvet Sky is very easy on the eyes, but her commentary is fucking awful. And I've said that 100 times, but a lot of the times these contracts come up and it's a money thing. Like they're just saying, "Hey, we've been here forever. We've been committed. Like we've outdone this contract. Like we want a pay raise." That's the natural progression of business. Unless you are I mean, think of an athlete, okay? When they're in their prime and they can still go and they've outperformed the previous contract, you're going to ask for more because that's what you deserve. Now, if you're aging, if you're fucking Ken Shamrock and he's doing a year on and then he comes back for a year, like I want more, like I can fucking pay you more. You're like 80, but some of these guys are still in their prime and Impact wants to sign them to the same exact fucking deal that they had him before. That's what Jake Something bounced, Rohit Raju, these guys, like Impact's not giving them wasn't giving him anything. Like, hey, we've performed, we've done what you've asked. Now give us some money. Pay us, give us something. What Willie Mack? You know what I'm saying? Like pretty much every time someone just departs. Mainly on the male side, I think. I think the women get a lot of opportunity. And usually when their contracts are up, you hear us say, well, Deanna Perrazzo, Taya Valkyrie, Jordan Grace, we're talking about these girls and I say, hey, they've done everything they can do. But that's not the case for guys like Sammy Callahan. What's he had? One world title run that was the transitional world title run. PCO hasn't held any titles. They could have got away with him and Vincent being tag team champions during that run with Honor No More. But they don't want to pay these guys. Everyone keeps, oh, Anthem has money. Like, no, they operate within a budget, but at the same time, you got to fucking pay people who want to stay. But the problem is, Impact is like, well, if we get out from the Sammy Callahan contract and the PCO contract, now we can throw all this money at the Good Brothers and bullshit like that. They know that people are coming from WWE. There's free agents, and they're more interested in the potential shiny new toy than just kind of bringing the people back who want to be there. They would rather sign those people for 6 months that came from another company who don't want to commit, but you want to get them on your roster so you can give them your fucking titles, and then they lose a title and leave. I mean, at the same time, you don't want to have a boring product, right? You don't want to have the same wrestlers doing the same thing all the time. But I mean, there's some people like freaking raise their pay. I'm not part of like any backstage negotiations, obviously. So maybe I don't exactly know what I'm talking about, but I have a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about with all that. But yeah, I truly feel they would rather not re-sign the guys, and they do it in a manner that it makes them look like, oh well, we tried, and it makes the wrestler look like the bad guy for leaving. And I don't think that's what is happening. I think they just want their pay raise. It's just the nature. If you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're in depending what kind of industry you're in, every year you'd be like, hey, you know, raise my pay $1 an hour. You know, this isn't fucking Burger King. You're not just locked into your damn, minimum wage for the entire time you're there. Like it's just odd. But yeah, I think they just want to pay people what they initially were going to pay him and don't want to pay him a fucking dollar more. Anyway, let's get out of that. So Rhino, Gores, Steve Macklin, and I agree. PCO is a little cringe for me. I know a lot of people like him, but Spears gores Steve Macklin, and instead of letting it fester a little bit, let it simmer, they just abruptly play the video game noise and go to ABC backstage. Not ABC, but it's the Rascals backstage defacing the titles, which, I mean, how many times are we going to see this on fucking wrestling at this point? But they've defaced the tag team titles, probably old, second set of belts. ABC comes up and says they want to cash in. So just like with the Crazy Steve thing, they're cashing in by calling their shot. Basically, just hey, I'm gonna challenge you in 2 weeks. I'm gonna give you 2 weeks to prepare. And then Sammy Callahan and Rich Swann randomly come in and say they want a title shot. They didn't. They didn't. They're saying they beat the Rascals in a non-title match or something. I don't know what they were saying. I didn't really care, but they didn't win a briefcase. But they can just waltz in and challenge for the damn title. You know, Burger King gets like $20 an hour now. I remember I was making $7.25. Shit, when I was making minimum wage as a kid, it was $4.25. I was walking home like a fucking clown that I just worked 4 hours and made $20. Um, what are you doing with Rhino in Impact? I think Rhino. I think this is his last run because he is a producer now. I think Steve Macklin is going to take him out for good, and then I don't think we'll see Rhino on our TV anymore. But anyway, Swan and Callahan challenge. Santino thinks real hard about this, and he grants him a title match. So the tag team champions have to successfully defend their titles in order to have the right to wrestle at Bound for Glory. That's another thing that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you're the champion, you should be protected. You don't have to defend your titles until Bound for Glory. That's just my thing. It's one thing if you like the graphic that's out is saying the winner of Callahan and Swan versus the Rascals has the right to take on the fucking challengers at Bound for Glory. Like that's not how that shit should work. I also would not be surprised if Rich Swann wasn't done pretty soon. I think I mean, I remember a couple years ago he resigned. I think Rich Swann is about done too. He was the world champion. They had no story for him after he lost it to Kenny Omega. They made him look like a chump in the feud with Kenny Omega. Had no storyline to rehabilitate him after that. They put him in a storyline with W. Morrissey immediately that he lost and was just knocked down several pegs down the card. And now he's wrestling in the Feast or Fired match, just like Sammy was. I mean, I'm gonna be pissed if that's the case because Swan is really, my top three favorite, along with Moose and Macklin. Crazy Steve's moving up there right now as well. But I have a pretty good feeling that with Sammy Callahan bouncing, that Rich Swann is next. I could be very wrong, and I wouldn't be surprised if Havoc isn't gone after that as well. We don't really see her on TV a whole lot. She just did a job to Savannah Evans, who doesn't beat anybody, and it was on BTI. So we're gonna keep an eye out for all that. It's Impact does this thing where everyone's contracts run out at Bound for Glory, and I just don't think that's a good. I don't think that's good business. That every year Bound for Glory is, is a mess, and it's a mess this year too. Not as bad as usual, but it's still a little bit of a mess. I agree here. Why didn't they just give Sammy Callahan the fucking fired briefcase instead of that nonsense they did? I wasn't against Yuya getting it because I thought the Rascals got some good heat by having that match with Yuya and Joe Hendry and then still beating him and still preventing him from getting his job back. So I kind of like that. Impact doesn't usually go for the heat. So I thought that was good. I just didn't agree they should have brought the Rascals back in a comedy sense this week like they kind of did. Keep the heat on them. You built the heat and now it's gone. But I said the same thing actually. Why didn't he just get the freaking fired briefcase? I don't know. Impact's been on an upswing. Maybe all of our opinions are wrong. that's funny because viewership's in a pretty good place. Social media numbers and everything, they're in a good place. When I criticize all these things, I don't think they're putting on a bad show. I just think Bound for Glory every year is a mess. It's been much worse than this in the past, though. Don't get me wrong, but I think BFG is a mess every year. I think um, no one cares about the matches every year, But what it is Impact just Impact just calls it a year around Bound for Glory every year. And yeah, no, nitpicking is what I do, my man. That is what I do. I'm a military guy. Attention to detail with me, man. Like, um, I take everything serious. But Impact typically calls it a year around Bound for Glory. Now, when Hard to Kill hit, they go all in. You know what I'm saying? Like that pay per view every year is great. The TV is great. They just go at it. They really deliver that time of year. But Bound for Glory, November, December, they've called it a year, and I think that's what the issue is, and part of the reason Bound for Glory just is a little underwhelming every year. So yeah, ABC. Then we get Chris Sabin. He's doing a little backstage promo or backstage segment. This is what they should be doing for Mike Bailey. I mean, kind of not because I don't necessarily want to hear him talk, but I thought what Chris Sabin did here talking about Kenta was really good. It was well produced. They need something like this for Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay. They don't have anything from Will Ospreay. No videos, no nothing. Like they're really relying on just them two having a good wrestling match at the show. There's no heat or anything like that. You know. Um, I don't think they got to get rid of Scott D'Amore. I don't like Scott D'Amore on screen, like even a little bit, but he does good for the company. You know, Don Callis straight bounced to go be a manager at AEW. Scott came, he stayed, and has done. He's kept the company afloat. It was supposed to be him and Don. It was supposed to be the two of them together as a team rebuilding Impact Wrestling, and it's been Scott all by himself. So I would just like to see Scott did less of him on TV. But as far as him, the executive, and him, the vice president, I believe he is now, or the president, I think he does a pretty good job. There's obviously we talk about the production and things of that nature. I think they got to put some better people in some better positions, but I don't have any complaints as far as Scott goes, as far as all that. But yeah, the whole Chris Sabin thing was good, and I just would like to see a little bit more of that for who are we talking about, for Mike Bailey. All right. Oh, that match is presented by Impuritus or something like that, and they played this clip of this movie, and it looks pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't, from the 45 seconds or whatever, I have no idea what this movie's about. Maybe some of you do because you know what Impuritus means. Maybe I'm just a freaking dumbass, but the movie doesn't look very good to me. But in the past, when they've had movies act as sponsors, they've always been pretty bad. Okay, and then main event time, we got Josh Alexander versus Big Con. This was not a lot of fun to watch. Josh can, for the most part, get a pretty good match out of anyone. Well, I got to ban someone here. All right, goodbye. Yeah, this wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't very good. It was just not. It didn't have my attention. I don't think it had very many people's attention because Khan is not the best worker in the world. They had some magic once upon a time with him in the Ascension. They were incredible, and I don't mean the WWE's version, the NXT version. They had some real magic with that, and it's hard to find magic with someone of his size in today's wrestling world. But Impact definitely has not found that magic. The design is bleh, and I don't even know why this match took place, to be honest with you. I think they told that story last week. I guess I really didn't care. But this match was about um, getting Alex Shelley on commentary. You know, Impact's commentary is the best it's been for a while. I mean, I get on Tom Hannafin for the first time matchup. I mean, this episode when it kicked off, the first thing you heard, first time ever. I mean, that's how the episode started off with the highlights of him. First time ever matchup. It's annoying to me, but he actually does do a very good job. I laugh because he oversells shit so hard. He said, Alex Shelley's gonna join us on commentary. I mean, it's not that serious, dude, you know? A couple weeks ago when they was promoting a fan fest or something, he's like, there's gonna be a fan fest. And he oversells the shit out of stuff. It's just kind of funny. But no, they do a good job. They definitely do a good job. There's a lot about him that annoys me, but I'm very critical on commentary in general. So, but this was more about getting Alex Shelley in commentary and doing the angle after. So with Alex Shelley, he had said, um, for tonight, I've got your back. I'm going to be there, so that you're 100%. You know, we see that kind of storyline all the time. But I was glad Josh didn't, turn him down. That's what it was earlier. I said I couldn't read my writing. Josh Alexander was doing a backstage with Gia. I think I slept through it, so that's probably why I couldn't read my writing. But what happened here is that Diener was going to hit. Of course, they had to do a ref bump. Diener was going to hit Josh with a chair. Alex Shelley takes the chair away, and then Josh Alexander goes to hit Diener, and he misses, and he hits Alex Shelley. They're kind of doing this Alex Shelley's kind of a heel type of thing, which I kind of appreciate because if the Bound for Glory main event was like the Trinity and Mickey James one where they're getting along, let's just go out have a good match, who the fuck would care, right? And they do that a lot. That was their thing in 2023. There were a lot of matches with no heat, babyface versus babyface, and they did a lot of that. There was a lot of let's just go out and have a good match, and they're doing that for two of the three biggest matches on the show. They're doing it for three of them. Kenta and Saban, even though Saban's a heel. I mean, Kenta's a heel. Mickey James and Trinity, and Speedball Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay. It just they're just trying to put on a good match. They easily could have went 4 for 4, but with this main event, they're trying to create some heat. They're trying to give Alex Shelley a little bit of a heel persona. So, I'm able to invest into it a little bit more than I was initially. I was not looking forward to the build for this pay-per-view, for this main event, and they're doing okay with it. They're doing a pretty decent job with it. But yeah, I do think Shelley's going to win a Bound for Glory. I'm gonna kind of look at the comments here, see if there's any questions or a couple things before I sign off. Can never take Diener seriously as a leader. Every time he loses, if I would die and they would rape him off cam. You know what I can't take serious? The people backstage with the talking with the fucking Impact screensaver behind him. I just cannot take those interviews seriously. Let's see what else we got here. Rhino still looks good. I find his character boring. His character is definitely boring. I don't know if he looks good. I don't know if I'm gonna say that. Like Drama King on commentary, yeah, he does pretty well. They both have really annoying voices, but they do a good job. Young and that big, yeah, Young and oh yeah, it was something Khan. I honestly don't care though. I don't care why Khan was wrestling Josh Alexander. Like I'm so against it. What is this what is this blasphemy? I never understood Rich Swann. His promos are cringe. He's like a lot of flippy wrestlers. His promos are a little cringe. I'm not gonna argue with that one. I don't think he's like a lot of flippy wrestlers because he sells a lot more than guys his size that does what he does. He goes out there and still tells a story. You know what I mean? So that's the difference for me for him versus the average like smaller wrestler. So I think he's a very good storyteller. I love his entrance. He is a little cringy, like with the promos. I wish he would just kind of talk a little bit more serious rather than "Hey, my brother." Swan looks like a homeless man off Skid Row. If you notice this episode, he shaved his beard. He was smooth every once in a while. I think that's how he was when he was Impact World Title or World Champion. I mean, speaking of that, I feel like I said this before, but they're starting to use that WWE terminology of championship opportunity. Get away from that shit. Do not just do shit because WWE is doing it. That has been a problem with Impact for a while. Seeing if there's anything else here I want to bring up. Uh, but yeah, we get motherfuckers come on the channel here and talk about, oh, you're nitpicking, you're being like the channel's negative BQ. Like I'm sorry if that is an issue with him, but I mean a issue with anybody. But as I said, I'm someone attention to detail. Wrestling is best when it is made to look like it's real, and where they try to convince us that what's going on in the ring is real. So when I'm talking about things like Tommy Dreamer calling out Crazy Steve, and then 15 seconds later his music hits and he comes out, like that's just that's fake. You know what I mean? So um it's a lot of the nitpicking, man. Most of the shit that I have nitpicked about and that they've actually fixed, people have been like, okay, well, I agree that you are right about that. Like now it's better, like what the hell? But that's what I do. That's always what I've fucking done. I don't know why anyone is ever shocked about that when they tune into this channel. Even before his negative BQ was just the Impact Lounge, when it was King of the Mountain Radio, when it was everything, I've always, with a fine tooth comb, gone over some of the segments, and I always say why I don't like it. I never just say, "Hey, this was bad," and move on. Or I always say, "This is what I would do," or "This is why I have this opinion." Like we can all have our opinions. No one has to agree with every single thing that I say. I don't expect people to agree with everything I say. I don't want people to agree with everything I say, but I always think that we can respect an opinion the most when you can actually back up why you have that opinion and, you know, again, what you would do differently, you know? So I think that's going to do it for me. I actually have to go get a smog check for my car because I got to renew the registration this week since it was my birthday time of the year. But now that I moved to the West Coast, got to do smog check. So I'm going to do that. But thanks to everyone for tuning in this week. And we'll be live streaming again next week, reviewing Impact. And if any news pops up this week, I'm going to talk about it here on the channel. So thanks for checking me out, folks. We'll talk again soon. Peace.